Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Math with Mr. W. Now, last time we were talking about a game that we were playing called I'm Looking for Two Numbers. And that's helping us to understand our multiplication tables, keeping those things in our mind, and making sure we understand how to factor. Well, here we can also add this to our warm-ups and have one called finding the common denominator. If I'm looking for a common denominator, because you're going to be asking the students all year long to add fractions. And in doing so, they're going to have to find the common denominator. It's going to be easy for some and not so easy for others, but they're going to have those factoring sheets with them. The ones we've talked about before, from 1 all the way to 100. So when you put on the board or ask them verbally, what's the common denominator between 12 and 24? And again, play the game the same way you play I'm looking for two numbers. They can't shout anything out. Make sure they're raising their hand, because it gives you a better understanding of really what's taking place. You have someone that just loves to shout things out, but it doesn't help the rest of the class. But if you get within a few seconds, most of the class has their hands up, then you know that the class is probably understanding the concept. So part of this is also for your learning, but it's just a warm-up. I am just finding the common denominator. And it's something that you can do as a quiz. Maybe you have a quiz of 5 or 6 of them that you can put on a paper and say, boom, and have it on their desks. Know they have to do this on little half sheets, and they have to do it quickly. They have maybe 5 minutes to do it and turn it over, and then they hand it in. Or you can play this game on a regular basis, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So if you ask this verbally, you get a bunch of hands. Then you can choose whose hand you saw first. Or maybe it's not the hand you saw first, and maybe it's a hand that seldom goes up, but all of a sudden Billy raises his hand, and Billy seldom raises his hand. Billy, what is it? And Billy says 24. Okay, now, good, Billy, that's right. 24 is the common denominator. Now, Billy, why did you choose 24? That's the big question. That's the thing we have to go further with. Because if we just leave it dangling at, good job, Billy, and go to another problem, there's probably 5 or 10 kids out there going to be going, what you talking about, Billy? I don't understand why you chose that. See, we need a why. We need that extra piece of information. So don't be afraid to ask that extra piece of information and say, hey, Billy, you got it right. Why did you choose 24? And when Billy says, because 12 goes into 24 2 times, he really understands the concept of getting the common denominator. So, and then when you choose 2 other numbers like these, let's say you have 3 and 13. And hands go up, and you call on Cheryl, and Cheryl says 39. Great, Cheryl, 39. And yeah, 39 is our common denominator. But I have to go back to the same thing. Okay, Cheryl, you're right. Why did you choose 39? And Cheryl has to draw back and say, okay, I chose 39 because 3 and 13 have nothing in relationship in factors. 13 is prime, and so is 3. So they're relatively prime to each other. So I just multiply them together. Good job, Cheryl. Great job. And that fills in the why to all those students who may be out there wondering, yeah, why'd you choose 39? They both have a 3 in them, but that's not the kind of 3 we're looking for. We're looking for the fact they're both prime numbers and they're relatively prime to each other. So when you're playing this game, finding the common denominator or using it as a quiz, and use it often. Don't just use it once or twice. Make it a part of the math learning throughout this year. Just like I'm looking for 2 numbers. So help your students to really hone in on all of their multiplication skills. Make it a part of what they're going to be knowing for the rest of their life. And I'll see you next time on Math with Mr. W.